Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on September 9th, I think I got that wrong. Journey continues today on September 7th, 2022, 6:44 a.m. PST. And I don't even know if things are working right now, so we're going to see. I tried coming on earlier today, and the whole system collapsed. Oh, I like that. I just got an email in that said, Yahoo Desk, my mailbox is blocked. But understand, and this is very important. Now, before I get into it, okay, it is very important. Before I get into it, I returned to the world for one primary reason, and that is to remind everyone in existence that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because of the fact that the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the ones I personally live by. This is not a question of do what I'm telling you. It's do what I'm saying. Why I say not what I do. In my case, it's I suggest that you give this a shot if you haven't, because these tools have worked for me and multiple other people. Now, I just before, while everything else was jammed up, I got an email that said that literally I'm trying to get my feet up so I can actually see what's going on, know whether or not I'm actually recording. I do thank the people that tried joining me earlier today. But unfortunately, technological problems were a royal pain. Let us see what we got here. That page down onto this scene and expand it to cover the whole thing. Yes, I'm walking you through literally what I'm going through. Okay, now we can take that, we can delete that one, close that. There we go. Royal pain. Okay. Voice is working now to shut the voice off. There we go. Now that I know it's all working properly. Anyway, I got an email earlier this morning while everything was scrambled that said Yahoo Desk, mailbox blocked. And there's a bunch of other stuff that goes with it. And this is why you never, ever, ever hit a hot link on a system on the bat. It says here now, I'm reading off of my email. My email says Yahoo Desk, right? Mailbox blocked. But when you highlight the name Yahoo Desk, it says Debbie_Sterling at yahoo.com. Now, who that is, what their connection is, I have no idea and less concern. But it does tell me don't even open the email. Okay, so I'm just checking the email box itself on that particular email. And now we go delete that email. And now that I've deleted it, now I go to my trash bin that's got all my deleted stuff in it. And I empty the entire trash bin. This way, that email doesn't even get opened. Now, the reality of it all is, ways people have learned to really screw things up. Okay, and really make life difficult for other people. Now, because I'm in here, I'm just going to delete all the spam mails I get as well. Now, here's the way that this morning went. And then everything. Okay. And my broadcast, at least from my computer standpoint, my broadcast quit. I fought with it for a little while. And then I said, nope, enough is enough. I'm killing the broadcast. So what I did was I literally hit end stream. It asked for confirmation, so I confirmed it. Then it killed the stream off. Or at least that's what it said. Okay, at that point, I went, I'm rebooting the whole 9 yards. Okay, so I shut the whole thing down. And when I mean shut it down, I mean I shut down everything I was working on. And then turned the computer off, went to the router, unplugged the router, unplugged the computer, unplugged the whole 9 yards, so it was completely disconnected. Finally got it back up and running, and came to find out that the stream was still recording. Okay, or at least my computer said it was still recording. And there was a whole bunch of other people that had joined the chat room that had left messages saying they could still hear me, etc., etc. Now understand, I had all turned the computer to record information, even if they are turned off. That to me is pretty solid proof. Okay, now I can't say it happens to everybody. I'm not here to tell you what's going on. I told people decades back that, I told people decades back that this was happening before computers became mainstream. Okay. Good morning, Dogface. I'll tell you, it has been an absolutely screwy morning. So the computer, as far as I understand it, now, I mean, we still have this other neat little problem. I'm working on a camera, on a video that my computer says doesn't exist. So the fact that it was still recording text messages and what have you after I ended the stream, after I shut the computer down, tells me pretty clearly that there is that there was a problem. Now, the reality is, when I got everything back up and running, I turned around and I finally got back into my YouTube, and I actually deleted that short YouTube. Like I said, I don't edit, and there wasn't any point because I'd only been broadcasting, from my knowledge, for about 5 minutes. But the problem was that the computer continued recording after I shut the program off. Okay. After I shut the program off, it still recorded for another 25 minutes. Okay. Now, that being said, because I went back into YouTube and YouTube says, "Oh, you're still live." I'm like, "Pardon? I've been off for half an hour because I shut the whole system down." So I deleted that whole live feed. And the funny part there, Dogface, it doesn't make any sense to me at all either, except for the fact that I know that what you're being told about computers, about the fact, people say, "Oh, it's just conspiracy to think that the people building these computers are using them." I got bad news for you. Okay. The fact that it was still recording after I hung up. Now, I've got no proof of it. Like I said, I deleted the whole 9 yards, so I don't expect you to believe me. But for me, it's a pretty black and white issue. Okay. Now, the reality of it is, the reason I don't get into too much trouble, as near as I can figure, is because, in my opinion, the system is set up right. The people handling it, that's another issue. But the system itself is set up right. And the whole trick is to make sure that we understand how the system works. Not all the mechanics behind it by any means, but understand this is technology beyond. Now, for me, the technology, even to pass an email, is way beyond my functional capacity at this point. At some point, I may decide that I'm going to do something about it and actually go to school and see if I can figure it out. But the reality of it at this point is I'm not that interested. I was more interested in getting it to stop running at all without destroying my ability to write. Okay, now I can still write on the, I can still obviously write with paper. Okay. And ultimately, Dogface, you're absolutely right. Computers are far more advanced than what you're being told. And from everything I've had explained to me, my older brother, who used to literally think in computer, okay, I'm sure of it, he told me flat out that the computers, when they hit the market, are already 6 months out of date. Now, you can bet your bottom dollar that the computer companies and the government have the state of the art. So they are so far ahead of what you're capable of. Okay. The video, the information we're using now, the video information we're using at this point, okay, that was already available. Okay, they had already started working with it back in the early 60s. So this idea that we're just getting it now, that we're just getting 3D graphics and what have you now, this is a planned issue on their part. Now, I've heard tale, and I have no way of backing it up. Okay, I've heard tale that computers and phones are being deliberately slowed down. I know for an absolute certainty that the educational system is no longer it's no longer teaching people. Okay, I mean, it's teaching people how to do what they're told, and that's where it ends. Yeah, by the way, the reason the video just really moved badly is I adjusted the screen on my laptop. Okay, so it's been a bit of a shambles, but we have to know exactly, in order for you to move forward with your success, you don't have to know how. The sign of really having a handle on things is not by knowing how to do everything. It's by knowing how to actually find the people, by connecting with people that are not only capable of doing things, but are also willing. Now, the sad part about it, from my experience, is more often than not, the people that are willing to help. Good morning. Who did we just get here? Timmy, how you doing? Yeah, well, IBM hasn't caught up to that, and unfortunately, I'm stuck with an IBM for the moment, primarily because it's all I've ever known. Okay, have I contemplated an Apple? Yes. But what I don't know, because everything I've written is done on IBM, what I may end up doing when my inheritance comes in is buying an Apple anyway and starting to transfer things over without losing the IBM that I've got as far as the work goes. What is this? Now, the important factor from my standpoint is this. What I've found for me is that most of the people that are really willing to help don't have the technological expertise to do so, or the mechanical expertise or whatever. And the ones that do know how to do it aren't willing to help. Okay, for whatever reason. Dogface, here's the funny little thing. Where it comes to success. Okay, and this applies to everybody. Good morning, Terry. Glad you could make it. Success boils down to this. It's absolutely imperative that people figure out what they mean and what they see as success. Okay, now success is this. If you're content with the way your life is going, okay, that right there is success. As you said, Dogface, you're here to make friends. Fun success. I'm here to make friends and destroy some things on the way out. Okay, I heard it put another way one day. Chaos, bedlam, pandemonium. My job's done. But the reality of it is, we have a society here heading down an absolute disaster. So what you have to look at, where success comes in, is figure out what is success for you. Okay. Is having your house run smoothly success? Is running a local mom and pop grocery store or family business, is that success? Are you happy with a hotel with a restaurant attached as your legacy? Okay. And I don't mean just working for it necessarily, but if just working for somebody else, paying your bills and getting on with your life and being on top of your bills, if that is what you call success, then that's what you target. That's where success is. So if you're here to make friends, okay, and you've made some friends and you're happy with them, that is success. Okay. Now, I've started working on another book, of course. Like I didn't have, like 14 wasn't enough. So I'm working on, actually I'll be working on 19 at the same time, because what it'll be is four books and then all packed together into a fifth. Okay, but the fifth one will have additional little chunk to it. So it's not like I didn't have enough to do, but I figured, what the heck, I might as well get a few things more on the go. But the way to do that is to really turn around and you really turn around and take a look at the world and go, okay, I'm here. Now you're here until you die. And that's one of those neat little things we all have in common. Every single one of us at some point is going to die. Now, if we go back several thousand years, okay, if we go back several thousand years, people were living well over 100. Okay, as a matter of fact, the oldest one that I know of that was recorded, and it's actually recorded in the Bible, was a chap by the name of Methuselah, who lived 969 years. Now, I'm not betting on making that far, but I am aiming at 137 minimum, because one of my early childhood goals was to see the 22nd century in a functionally operational body, in this functionally operational body. Okay. Now, the 22nd century means I've got to be here for another 18 years. Okay, I'm not doing that to set a world record, although let's face it, that would push it. Okay, the oldest person I ever heard of was about 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. There was an African American that came over on the slave ship. He was 149. Okay. Now, I don't know if there's any record of that. I don't care if there's any record of it. Okay. The neat little part about it, from my way, I'm just looking at what is coming in through the screen here. That's why I've got it up here, so I can see what's going on your end. What do we got? See, now if I had any way of functioning in the kitchen, I love that. This whole idea here, this whole idea of baking, of cooking and what have you, I don't have personally a sense of spatial recognition, and I certainly don't track time. And with no functional taste buds. I appreciate that, Terry. Sometimes we get caught in a mess. Anyway, the reason that I actually started doing this today was, if you desire success, you've got to get started with it. Now, what I'm laying out myself, okay, is I've got the sheet on my note sheet on the side here, but I've got to get a file together to state exactly where my business is going. Now, one of the things with figuring out where your business is going, I mentioned what you see as success. For me, there's a couple of major things I'm working on. One is obviously clearing all the clutter out of my life. Two is the Yldrbac Chronicles. And I made a major breakthrough the other day on those. But the long-range big plan that I bought is to build an actual recovery center. And I'm not talking about just this holding tank for people to pass away in. I'm talking about building a center where people are taught not only, and obviously I'm not going to do all the teaching, but where they're taught not only modern medicine, as in how does modern medicine actually help the body? How does natural medicine, homeopathic medicine, and the energy work, how does it all combine? Okay, because it's all connected. It's all linked together. So this is the big plan, okay, to make an active recovery center. I've already got the corporate superstructure laid out for it. Now, much as I call it corporate, there is no way with the current layout of corporations that I will ever start a corporation. Okay. Because they require a board of directors that, from my understanding, can take your company out from under you. Not a good idea in my eyes. A board of advisors, on the other hand, I'm quite willing to put to work. But yeah, and some people will say that's because you're trying to be you've got a control thing. I certainly do. My life, my control. However, we have to work inside the laws that are already there. Okay, now we know there are laws in place that are completely imbalanced. A couple of the ones that are not imbalanced. There's 3 that I follow that are totally balanced as far as I've ever seen. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Now, these apply to everyone. Okay. And this is why I say, when I'm looking at tools to offer people, they're ones that apply to everybody, no matter what your walk of life. There's a lot of really good books out there that tell you how to be successful, how to make money if you've got $30,000 or $40,000 available. Okay. Now, I keep asking people that if you're following a law, compare it to the 3 that I follow. Absolutely. If you find one that does not fit inside those 3, please drop me a line and let me know. At this point, those 3 have held solid through looking at religion, as in Christianity, the Church of Satan, the Muslim faith, the Hindu faith, the Cree faith, the Witch's Bible, okay, and the list goes on. But these are ones that I've actually gone and looked at their guidelines for. Okay, they also apply to things like AA, NA, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, okay, parenting laws that people have, okay, the whole 9 yards seems to fit. Now, the reality of it is, from my standpoint, I'm looking at all of that. Now, I'm in the process because I've got to get the business running properly. I opened my business back in 2007. So I've been up and running for 15 years, but I've sat on my tail feathers and done essentially nothing with it. Now the reality is, I love the fact that you people are joining me here. Okay. I mean, I have looked at it, and on occasion I look at it going, I've only got a very small number of people that are listening. But the reality is, okay, if I can help one person avoid some of the pitfalls I ran into, okay, and thereby attain success a little easier, then that's the way I'll do it. Okay, because here's the thing. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Have I gone through a fair chunk? Well, take a look at me. I'm great. Okay, I've gone through something. Don't let the hair color fool you. Okay, I started going gray when I was 16. I was a late bloomer. Okay, but the one thing I did find, did I put that right there? Nope, it hit the floor. I don't know where. I was looking for a pencil sharpener. But anyway, this is a live stream, obviously, like I have to tell you that. But when I get done, I never go back and try and edit anything before it goes up. Okay, this is the one difference. Well, it's not actually a difference. But as soon as this stream ends, it gets posted, and I don't have to worry about editing it. But I've got a bunch of little files around, such as what my business statement, business mission is, which is, in the long run, building a complete center. Now, to that end, like I said, I've got a folder already. As you can see, I think you can read that right there. Corporate structure. Now, in the IVE, that's me. Inner Voice Enterprises. Now, in this, okay, I've already got profit sharing laid out. And I have to, I did find out, because to get your business running, in my business, This may be your business. It may be your home. Okay. It doesn't matter. They're the same thing. You still have to worry about your rent or your mortgage or your lease. You're still using the same philosophies, whether you're a pauper or a multi-billionaire. Okay. Now, for me, it's real simple. I worked out, and you can listen to some of the previous videos. I worked out what it cost me to run my house. Okay. And look at that. It's written so that I can read it anyway. That does show up. I had to redo the sign, that little yellow sign way up here. Okay. I don't know if let me see. Oh, you can read it. I'm looking in this window. Okay. And as you can see up on that sign, it has the 4 most powerful words in combination where it comes to reclaiming power over your life. In any language I've ever come across, I am worth it. Okay. Now, I've got the sign there, and I put it deliberately up on that sheet of paper. Okay. In order to have it sitting right there so I can see it. Now, the nice part about it is I'm looking at it in the camera here, and it's written backwards. Okay. But I read backwards. I write backwards. Okay, and one day I'll get my hand working properly so I can write legibly enough backwards that other people can read it too. But that being said, I'm working on it. But when I look in the video here, which is showing what you guys see, it comes out forward, which is absolutely great. Okay, because the idea is for exactly the same person and the same reason. When you read that, whether you're paying attention to it or not, okay, it will help reinforce that idea that you yourself are of value. And when somebody else reads it, like in this case, I can read it, and so can you. Okay. But it's a reminder to you that, that you have value, regardless of what anybody tells you, regardless of whether you're walking around. The only people this sign won't help, okay, is people that are legally blind or people that are illiterate and can't read it at all. Okay, those 2 types of people we got. The blind people I do deal with, I tell them, find an auditory rate, okay, an auditory way of reminding yourself. And again, we're having stability problems with the internet. You're gonna run into some interesting challenges, and we're back on. Needless to say, not happy. Okay, not with the way technology is. Now, you'd think that we could rely on it, but I have no idea how much of that got missed. Okay, but the reality of it is, when I'm dealing with blind people, I tell them that same sentence. Okay, I am worth it. Find a way that gives you an auditory reminder, okay, on a regular basis so that you can see it. Now, I've got those signs here in the office. I've got the same sign on my fridge freezer door, and one on the front door as I'm coming into my apartment. And it serves as a constant reminder. Now, I'm absolutely amazed today. Okay. I absolutely am amazed. When I had the technological problems, I didn't get agitated. That for me is a phenomenal response. Normally, I get really agitated, really frustrated with computers. I appreciate the update there, Dogface, because unfortunately, not unfortunately, I don't have the volume on my side to know what's going on. Okay, but that being said, I do appreciate the update and letting me know. the neat part, yeah, I had a situation one day. You remember that too, eh? I think anyway. There was one point I was on the computer, and all of a sudden the fire alarm did go off, and it's like, okay, we're done. Don't have a choice. I've had that happen a few times. And I will tell you, it's an absolute mood killer. If you can be concentrating on something, and an alarm goes off, and all of a sudden you're completely scrambled. But let me just see if I've got that file up and running here. Where did it go? There. Nope, I shut her all down when I had to reboot the computer. Not really surprising when you think about it. But I'm just calling up my finance file to make sure, so that I can give you actual information and not just guess at what I was looking at. Now, I'm looking at this here, and let's see here. There we go. Now, last month, that is January. Got to go all the way down here to August. Last month, now I figured it out. I've got to be bringing in $3,200 a month. Okay. I think I did that on that file. Oh, haven't done that yet. That's why. Okay. I have to run my home. I've got to run a $3,200 to come into my house, to come in to run my house, to run my home, to run my business. But here's the thing. I'm in the middle of planning a multi-billion-dollar establishment. I'm starting with a network. Okay. Yeah, you should have tried the fire alarm we had at 2 o'clock in the morning one day. Fire alarm goes off. I'm asleep. And, of course, I ended up being wakened up and got wakened up. It's like, I think there's something wrong. So I'm trying to bring my head together. My son tells me he thinks there's something wrong. Right. So I get up and I walk, I come out of the bedroom and walk to the front door to start with, the inside door. And I'm like, okay, because I'm hearing the fire and finally clued in, smelling a little bit of something here. So it's like, okay, we really have to leave today. So we got to go now. So we get dressed, we get outside, and my apartment building's on fire. Fortunately, it was on the back side of the building. We didn't have to move. But I'll tell you, it's like I told my son, when there's a fire alarm going off, it's not a question of, Dad, you've got to get up. It's a question of, Dad, the house is on fire. You'll wake up in a hurry. But it did ruin my night's sleep. Now, what I'm working on here is I've got a bunch of files that I've already done bits and pieces of, as in mission statement, just exactly what I'm looking at, what the business is for. Like the motto I go with, as far as Inner Voice Enterprises goes, is the future is our business. The present is your life. And the reason I look at that is because I've been working in this field, in the consulting field now I started when I was 10, which makes it 49 years. I was 23 at the time that it actually went public. That I actually went professional and started charging for it. So that is 36 years. Okay. Yeah, that'd be 36 years I've been doing this. But I've done just about nothing with the business because I've also got a full-time job. Okay. So I didn't have to. But it finally dawned on me that I have to, if I'm going to do even part of what I'm aiming for, I have to get it done. Now, the writing of the Yldrbac Chronicles, is a whole different issue. That's something that will be done anyway. No matter what else happens, I will get it completed. Okay, it's just a goal that I've got for myself. And at this point of the entire thing, of the entire saga, I've already got written, what are we here? Completely written, just over 26%, of the entire saga. Of the actual trilogy I'm working on, it's 85% written. The final book, I'm just in the middle of doing the final edit on and final expansion at the same time. But this is a question of the file I've got to work on today is getting all the information into one place for the website. Okay, which is, and the reason I'm saying it here, honestly, half of what I'm doing here is to make sure other people, that you people, get an idea of what I've been through in order to avoid these same pitfalls. Okay, very important in my eyes to be able to do that. Okay, because if I can help you avoid one of them, okay, just that little bit, that's a bonus. Am I expecting to change the world and in its entirety? Absolutely not. But then, in all fairness, most people don't look at what they're doing and go, "This is going to change the world." I know of a few people that have said it absolutely will. When we can get it through our heads that working together, we can make this a better world. Okay, for virtually everybody. When people start accepting that and start working with it, that's when we can actually get things moving. Okay, now I have to, I'm writing this backwards. See, this is what I mean. Now, I had a stroke 3 years, almost 4 years ago now, wiped out my ability to write with my left hand. So, does it take me a little longer? Yes. Am I still sketchy with writing it? The answer is yes. But here's the neat little part. Okay. The neat little part of all of this is that what I have discovered is that now I can actually write to a degree while I'm actually talking about something else. But I'm doing it with my left hand. With my right hand, it's just plain normal. And you'll notice the other thing I'm working at, and this is a little bit of a sidetrack, because people ask me, okay, these little figures I've got here, I've got a whole pile of them that I'm working on. Now, this particular character, this one the other day when I showed you, had a purple robe. But this character, okay, this figure, I am using to represent a person in my books. This one is being used to reference a gentleman by the name of Billion Belendros. Okay, because it's the best one that fits him. Okay, but I've got a whole pile of these. These are all figures, the same type of setup, design. You'll notice these ones have green. This is I think you can see that. Okay, it's a real faded green anyway. But I need in order to lay out in order to choreograph. No, it really isn't. It's a pain in the neck. I will tell you, Dogface. I mean, I appreciate that. Coming back from a stroke is a royal pain. The only thing I've got left, really, is my left hand. I still can't write properly with, but I'm working on it. But no, the battle I'm working on, which is being choreographed actually for book 3. Okay, for actually the third one in the trilogy, which, by the way, will come out, well, assuming one book a year, we're looking at 5 years down the road when this particular scene comes out. But I've got 15, it'll be a 15-to-1 fight. Now, in the Birth of the Wolf Pack, okay, in the second chapter, there's a 10-to-1 fight there against the character named Jeremiah. Okay, it's 10 to 1. You end up with 7 dead, 2 really badly wounded, and one gets away in one piece. Now, this is against the pacifist of the party. Okay, so what I'm laying out here is I need 15 of these people in order to lay out the fight, because I'll tell you, trying to track 16 people when you're writing a combat scene, these figures help immensely in keeping things in order. But I've got some, as you can see, some are getting, because I'm working with toothpicks. Okay, what I end up doing is painting a bunch of different figures at the same time. Primarily because I'm only using tiny little bits and pieces of paint, on each one. But I've got to have 15 of these laid out that I can work with. And so what do I got here? Yeah, of course, I turn around, you can't see what I'm doing anyway. Well, it's a challenge. Oddly enough, even when I have, like most people, when they have nightmares, they wake up. And this is just part of the side effect of why I look at the world I do. Most people, when they have a nightmare, they wake up feeling really disjointed, really, really stressed. If I'm having a nightmare and it's about a bloodbath, okay. Now understand, I'm a pacifist, and I will tell you wholeheartedly, whenever I'm talking to somebody that is striving to do something, whenever I talk to somebody, it's like, okay, you can make it happen. You just have to believe. You've got to start by believing you can. Okay, and that's where these signs come in. The signs that say, I am worth it. That's where they come in, because they're a constant reminder. Yeah, I appreciate that, dog face. It's not, and to be clear, it's not that I don't like people loving what I do. Okay. I just simply do not see myself as anything really special. I'm determined. I mean, let's face it. I'm about as blunt as you get. And I do my best actually not to swear when I'm talking to people in public. On my own or around my son, hey, let's scrap the idea of trying to be socially acceptable at all. But yeah, because what I've got here, and I'm going to show you something. This is another one of those neat little sidelines that I have. Sort of. Because the area that I'm working in, because of the scene that I've got for the fight, I required something to set it around. So, this little figure here, now this is an incense burner. Okay, it's a dragon-headed incense burner. But it's the right size. So what I'm laying out for the combat is you take a look at this and say, okay, this is the fire that's going on. Then we take a look at this being understanding that Billion is 5'8". Okay. If you compare that to the fire that he's working, that they're fighting beside, this gives you an idea of how big it is. And of course, if you take a look at that, and if you want to just round it off, call it 6 feet, and there's the size of him on the size of the fire. So we are looking at a very big fire. Okay, this is what they're fighting around. And as you can well imagine, and I haven't written the scene yet, but as you can well imagine, some people are going to end up in the fire. This means you've got people running around all over the place. Now, book 12, okay, the one I'm working on currently is The Return to Paradise, is a major, like there's a whole lot going on. And in order to keep people focused on it, it's got to be written properly, as it were. Like one of the things when I'm doing anything, when I'm looking at a tool, okay, as in a financial tool that you can use, it's got to apply to everybody, not based on how much money you've got. Okay, not based on where you came from. I know one girl that when I met her, she was living on the roof of a school. She was homeless. She was living on a roof of a school. Okay, she is currently, last I heard anyway, she was actually working full time. She was living in a house and raising a whole family. And it's tools like these tools that I offer people applied to her as well. As a matter of fact, I was directly responsible, from her words, I was directly responsible for helping her keep her head above water long enough to get off the street. One of the best people I ran into, I used to talk to a young lady. She was 13 years old and was always down at the park right next to me. So I'd go down and talk to the people at the park. Many of them were homeless or were just hanging around the park because they didn't want to go home. Now, this particular 13-year-old, she would hitchhike or catch the bus some 15 kilometers to get to the park I was at. And she did that for about a year. I'd see her twice or three times a week. And I'd talk to her whenever I could. But her father had done to her what nobody should ever do to anybody else. Okay. And women are the ones that everybody knows about, but men go through it as well. But this girl, she was constantly there trying to hold her life together, trying to avoid doing the ultimate thing. And she come to me one day and she says, "I've got a present for you." I went, "Okay." So I put my hand out and she dropped this tiny little red pocket knife in my hand. And she goes, "I just wanted you to have this. I won't be needing it anymore." But she says, "Because of what you helped me work through and because of what I was able to help mom deal with, mom's taking us kids and we're leaving dad." Now, I'm a firm believer that you work through your problems. But when your problems are of that caliber, okay, working through them is not a viable option. You don't stay in a place where you're being beaten on a regular basis. You don't stay where you're being abused. Okay, but you still have to use your brains, meaning you've got to have a viable way out of it. Because sometimes just bailing out of one problem will put you right smack into another one. Now, this particular kid, I haven't seen her since. Of course, in all honesty, that would be almost 10 years back now, so she's probably living on her own. But I've used these tools of get yourself organized. Like, I'm putting together the information for my website, for what I've got to do to make that happen, for my marketing to actually go. Because, I've kept telling myself, I'm useless where it comes to marketing. Okay, for me to be successful, it's simple. I already got 2 out of the 3 things I was aiming for this lifetime. The third one is 80 years down the road, and we'll see if I manage to get that one. I know the drive this kid had, and hopefully she got a lot further than what she was. She certainly had a better shot not being around the so-called father. Okay. My apologies. The guy was a father. Any male can be a father. Any male can be a mother. Any female can be a mother. Okay. But it takes a certain type of person to be a dad or to be a mom. Okay. And that's the big thing you have to look at. But I know the kind of drive this kid had. Okay. It's very much like another person. I know exactly where they're heading. Okay. When American Idol came out, Kelly Clarkson, the first time I heard her voice, I went, there's the winner. And that was in the auditions. Okay, currently I don't have cable, so I don't get any of that. Right. But spotting what people have potential for is easy. Getting them to recognize it themselves, that's a challenge. Now, for you, many people I've talked to have said, I've got this project I put on hold because I just couldn't do anything with it. And I was told I wasn't good enough. Okay, I will tell you this. Whatever you set your sights on, okay, whatever you get in mind that you would like to accomplish, assuming, of course, that it follows those 3 karmic laws I was talking about. Okay, whatever it is, that's not a bad idea. I'll have to work on it and to get a sign up here, up on this blank wall here. I can put a sign up there for exactly the same reason. And I'll have to work on it and figure out how to make it show up properly. But we'll see what happens. Okay, I've got an idea in mind, but it's going to take me a little time, so it'll just be a work in progress. But when you get an idea in your mind of what you'd like to accomplish, start planning it. Take a look at where your life is and go, okay, what am I doing that's working towards that? What am I doing that's hindering that? Anything that you're doing that is blocking your path to your idea of success, that's what you rearrange. Okay. And the idea is the less clutter you have, that the less stuff that's in the way. Like my office desk here where I do all my writing. Okay, it's set up properly. Don't need that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's all the people I need there. It's set up properly. I had to put this desk in because, well, I required it for other purposes, not the least of which is being able to work on the figures. But you break it down into smaller tasks, and this is why I said, okay, and I've taken to doing it again, okay, and you'll notice, okay, now you're looking at that, it is in all likelihood written backwards, okay, I know it's written backwards. I'm looking at it right now on this screen. It shows it's written forwards, which says you can't read it. But all that says is web develop. Okay, but that's written with my left hand. The one that shut down during my stroke. Okay. And it is just literally a question of making certain that I put the effort into taking control of it. But I cannot do that by just wishful thinking. Well, that's not 100% correct. There was a gentleman in Vietnam that was in the Vietnam War. Before he went to war, he couldn't play golf. But he ended up in a POW camp for, as far as I understand, 5 or 6 years. Okay. And what he did every day in order to help keep his sanity is he turned around and visualized himself playing a perfect game. That is absolutely correct, Harry. Because if you pay attention to people telling you what you can't do, there's a lot of people out there, okay, that will do that. This gentleman, he was sitting there focusing on teeing off absolutely perfectly. Had never picked up a golf club in his life prior to Vietnam. When he got out of the POW camp and came home, he picked up a golf club and played an absolutely beautiful game. Now, I'd love to say he went on and became a PGA World Tour world champion. I don't know. Okay, I didn't follow the guy. But what it did tell me was if you think about doing something often enough, you can program your head to do it. Now, this is the same technique that is used along with auditory cues to stop smoking without withdrawals, to stop drinking and drugs without withdrawals, okay, without spending a fortune of money. Okay, because I don't know about you, but money is not exactly the be all and end all. Now they say, the funny thing is there's a saying that goes, money is the root of all evil. Well, let's face it. It's not. I mean, it doesn't matter how you look at it. Greed, fear has to be, fear is literally the root of the evil. Money is just a barter system. The neat little thing. I heard a saying one day, right, where the way it was put was, those of you that say it can't be done, would you please be quiet while those of us that are doing it complete the job? Okay, the American military says it beautifully. I believe it's the American military. Okay. The American military turns around and says, the difficult we're already doing. The impossible just takes us a little longer. Okay. Well, I'm living proof that the impossible is relatively normal. See, I mean, the thing with finding a relationship, and I kid you not, this works like a charm and it sounds way too easy, but I've used the method myself. You take a sheet of paper and a sheet of paper or computer, it doesn't matter which, list off exactly the details that you feel would make a perfect partner. Okay, now sometimes you'll find it easier to identify the things that you're not happy with. Okay, that you don't desire them to have. Like, for instance, I desire a partner that does not smoke. Okay, now I got nothing against smoking, at least for other people. For me personally, not going to happen. Okay. But that's for me personally. Now, I got told by a professional videographer that when you're talking, you shouldn't move your hands because it's not professional. Well, guess what? I never claimed to be professional. You know, see, the one thing I will say about money is actually a very useful thing. It is a barter system. But for me, moving a $10 bill around or moving a dollar bill around, a dollar coin around, is a lot easier than dragging a chicken down the street. Or worse, dragging a cow with me. Okay, especially since I'm still edgy around cattle. The reality of it is, I can understand that all too well. The reality from my standpoint there, Dogface is going, that he's having trouble getting linked together, which I don't doubt. My partner is living down in the Midwestern states. Okay. And she has, we've been together 2 years and we still haven't got her across the border. However, that being said, we're still looking at making it permanent. And yes, I did say we because, well, we've talked about it. But it takes time, and this is one of the reasons why I say technology is a good thing. Yes, I said earlier in this feed that the cameras that are in your computer are active. Whether your computer is on, off, or not doesn't matter. The only way I know that this camera that is on my laptop, the only way I know it won't pick up, the only way I know it won't pick up is if I pull the lid down so that all that the camera can see is the lip of the laptop. But if I leave the camera up, which I usually do, that's the way it is. Now, do I worry about it? Not at all. Of course, I was fully aware back in the 70s of what they were doing, of what they were doing. Now, here's the thing. Okay. When you're looking at your business, at your success, okay, you have to look at where you are, not where you came from. Where you came from doesn't matter. Okay. Looking back, at some point in time, you were wearing a diaper. And at some point in time, you figured out how not to wear the diaper. Okay. How to get around it. Now, because of that, you could look back at the past and say, well, I was stuck wearing a diaper. Well, you absolutely were. And I was stuck in the routine of the same thing. I also went bankrupt twice. And I can worry about that, or I can look at it and go, this is where I am right now. That's what I did that was ineffective then. Okay, so I can correct it myself, or I can dwell on it and say, I can't go anywhere. Now, I have my bad days. Okay. Would be nice if the hand worked on occasion. Sometimes my hand will just not respond properly. But like I said, I'm still in the process of doing what people have told me cannot be done. Okay. Yes, chickens can make a lot of noise. Mind you, the other thing that is very much a true factor from my standpoint, I grew up on a hobby farm. And my dad, he used to kill our chickens. Okay. Well, I'd cover mine with covering with black duct tape works fine. Problem from my end is if I put black duct tape over mine, I can't do this either. Okay. But no, my dad, when I was growing up, he used to butcher our own chickens. And here's the thing that we did find. Saying running around the yard like a chicken with his head cut off, you cut the head off a chicken, it will continue running around the yard for a while. And then it'll finally run out of blood and steam. It's messy, but it does work. I don't recognize, I don't worry about the fact that it makes a mess. It's a case of, okay, that's going to happen. But whatever you're setting your mind on, take a look at whatever's going on around you. Are things set up like this? Okay. Gotta get those off here because, well, frankly, they're sitting on top of it. Okay. This book I've shown you before. This is what I write all the hard copy for the Return to Paradise in. Everything that was hard copy in here that was book 12 is now complete, is now in soft copy. Okay, so I've done all of this paperwork here is all transferred from hard copy onto soft now. Now I've got a little bit of work in here for book 7. Okay, but the reality of it is, in order to manifest something, you have to do the work. Now you can get all the guidance from people you desire. Okay, but you're the one that's going to have to get up and do it. Now, like I said, when I used to tell myself I have a lousy memory for names. And I told myself that consistently. Net result, somebody would tell me their name and it would go in one ear and out the other before they finished the name. Until it dawned on me, if I start telling myself, or more to the point, when I start telling myself that I have a solid memory for names, then I can change things for the better. And when I started doing that, my memory for people's names started to decline. Now, it's not exponentially, it's not incredible, but it's a heck of a sight better than it was. And I've started doing the same thing where it comes to marketing. Okay, for me to get my book sold, obviously having a distributor would be handy. Okay, but I've got most of that worked out. I'm just waiting for the new printing of the Birth of the Wolfpack to come out, where they've corrected the covers. Okay, but it takes looking in the mirror and going, okay, number 1, I am worth it. Number 2, major corporation, itty bitty me. Guess what? Itty bitty me is just as important, and itty bitty you is just as important to the person running the corporation. You're just as important, because we require everybody on this planet has a place. Okay, everybody is not equal. Okay, in as much as they have different skills. Are they of equal value? Absolutely. Picture what would happen. You've got your high society. They like their big parties. They like their cruise ships. Where are they going to be if the workers, what is classified as the working poor, if they are not able to feed themselves? How are they possibly going to build these incredible ocean liners, these incredible towers and works of art for the high society to enjoy? If somebody doesn't build it, how are they going to enjoy it? Okay. The funny part about it is people talk about, well, they're old enough, they should know better. Well, here's an example of somebody that's old enough that should have known better. Okay. Because it should have doesn't work. I had a client that phoned me up one day, and she goes, I've got stomach problems. What's wrong? Now, this is a normal question for me. Had somebody phone me the other day with a problem with their pup, going, this is what I'm dealing with. How do I deal with it? This is the situation. How do I deal with it? This is what I do. Okay. And a lot of this information is being put into books. But this particular woman, she calls up and she asks me what the problem was. I said, well, you're pregnant. And she goes, but my husband wouldn't cheat on me. I looked at her and went, true, he wouldn't. But, well, if he didn't cheat on me, then who's the mother? I looked at her and I said, what do you mean, who's the mother? You're pregnant. Now, the woman is old enough to climb into bed with somebody. She's old enough to conceive. Okay. And she couldn't figure out who the mother was. And I kid you not, it took me 10 minutes on the phone to get her to realize she was the mother to be. And then, no, her husband did not cheat on her. Her husband crawled into bed with her. Okay. And, I mean, it was totally consensual, although, I do question the intellect there. And it's, I've used the term, and I know it upsets people. Okay. Now, I don't call people stupid, usually. Okay. I don't have a problem with it. Do understand I'm not a professional. It's an interesting idea, Terry, and I'm quite open to working with the idea. Just to be clear, you know how to get a hold of me. At least I hope you do. If not, there's a couple of ways of doing it. But if you look at the bottom of the video here, when you're looking at the video, and below this video, there's a whole list of ways of getting a hold of me. Okay. And absolutely, Terry, absolutely, Dogface. That's an interesting idea. People keep asking me that. The reality is, I was asked back when I was working for Dairy Queen. Okay, I was an assistant manager there, and when I first started working there, then now we're talking 30 years ago at this point. Okay, but when I started working, well, 25, but I was in. They did a questionnaire in a staff meeting, and they asked how I relate to They asked everybody, how do you relate to the rest of the staff? And I looked at the questions and I answered the question. I said, I don't. I can tell you exactly why they're doing what they're doing, what they're up to, when they're going to do it. I don't relate to them at all. Okay, and I still don't. And this is one of the reasons why I try and stay away from people. I had to go to the school the other day and found out I don't handle crowds well at all anymore. Okay, they make me edgy. But, from my standpoint, it really boils down to this. You get an idea in your head. Okay, like I've got the web design that I've got to work on. But I started telling myself, I do know how to market. I just have to get off my tail feathers and do something with it. Okay, which is what I'm working on now. But it's the same for you. If you desire your house to actually run smoothly, the first place you start right off the bat is wherever you are. Now, the critical areas in a home, in a house that you have to get organized in order to make it run smoothly. Okay, and don't take my word for it. If you haven't done it, absolutely do it. Then talk to me about whether it worked. You may have to make adjustments. But wherever you work on your finances, that is the brain of both your house and your home. Or of your business. That's where the brain is. That's where all the work gets done. Okay. Then you've got your three-chambered heart. The kitchen, the dining room, and the living room. You've got the arteries of the body of the building. Okay, that's your hallways. Okay, and what you're looking at there. Okay, and of course, the valves in the different arteries, those are your doors. Okay, now, just to handle that directly, Dogface has just written in, I desire a Mexican-American woman who can cook. Now, the thing you've got, the biggest thing, okay, now the biggest thing there, because that is what you see, and the first thing you do, is write down literally on a sheet of paper or on your computer where you can see it on where you can see it. This is not to show anybody else. You literally write down, my perfect partner, African, Mexican American, can cook. Okay, those two qualifiers, because when you specifying them as a direct issue, write them down as the top qualifiers. Therefore, if you're focused on it being a Mexican American, then absolutely put that down. The only thing you never, ever, ever put down is somebody's name, because it interferes with freedom of choice. Okay, and you don't want to do that. It's a massive karmic no-no. Okay, when you're looking at, and the other thing I recommend not putting down is don't put an age down. Okay, I mean, clearly make certain you're targeting somebody of an age appropriate. If you're 30, you don't touch 16-year-olds. You just don't. A 20-year difference between partners when one of them is when the youngest is in their 20s or 30s. Okay, a 20-year difference is no big problem. Okay, because it literally boils down to a mindset. But they have to be old enough before you get involved with anybody. They've got to be old enough. Okay. Now, granted, I absolutely understand that if I go back to the early 1900s, or more to the point, to the early 1800s, kids at 13 were running their own houses. Okay, they were running their own businesses. Now, kids today can't run their own bank account, most of them at 15 years old. Okay, many adults can't run their own bank account. And one of the things that I did discover with bank accounts, yeah, no doubt. I don't blame you there at all. See, I've never been hung up on somebody's age or skin color or anything like that. The one thing I did find, where it comes to people, where it comes to, to friends, to, business people, it didn't matter. Okay, what people looked like, how big people were, didn't matter at all. Okay, it surprised me when I discovered that weight mattered. Okay, where it comes to a relationship. Okay. Now, yeah, there's no problem putting a picture of young Raquel Welch. Nice choice, by the way. There's no problem with putting a picture, just leave her name out of the equation. Because there are people that are absolutely ringers for other people. It's absolutely twins. Okay. So there's no problem using a picture of somebody as a focal point. But you make certain there is no name attached to it. Okay, and I found that out from the police one day. You can use a picture even in your own profile. You can online. You can use a picture. Okay, doesn't matter who, as long as you don't use the name. Okay, yeah, blame Terry. Bad news. Dog face boy just goes, Terry got me started on this. And the funny thing is, I don't doubt Terry opened the door, but he's not the one that got you started. Let's be real. You're the one that chose to pick up the hint. Okay. And this is the same thing I tell people doing bad things in their lives when they turn around and say, it's so-and-so's fault that I'm this way. No, it's not. Okay. It's, my hiccups, my misfires are because of things that I did. Okay. And what you have to look at when you're looking at the way your world is going, okay, you're the one that's got to take responsibility for it. Where it comes to putting everything together, take a look at the energy that's around you and eliminate the stuff that is holding you back. Okay. Oh, just noticed. That's the paint that I'm using. Okay, I use this. That's the paint that I personally use. I don't know if you can see that. To paint my figures with. Okay. And of course, then I use these fine little things here. So it really boils down to, like I said, I do use paintbrushes as well. Okay, but I have these because they're easy to replace. But all of these things are things I'm working with. And of course, getting my marketing up and running boils down to going, okay, what have I got? Now I've got synopses. I've got a website up, which is rkeithandrews.com, that has all 7 of the books I've got in print listed on it. Okay. I got asked a question the other day, and I answered them already. I got a question through my website. Somebody sent a message. Do you take personal checks? And I wrote back, I said, yeah, I absolutely do. But the one thing to consider is I won't ship the book until the check clears. When the book is paid through PayPal, which the access point there is innervoiceenterprises@yahoo.ca. When you use that, as soon as the money's in my PayPal account, I ship the book, within 3 business days. Where it comes to a personal check, I wait until the check clears before I will ship it. Okay. So, I mean, it's a work in progress, but I do know I've got to get more word out about the books themselves, same as the videos. By the way, something I forgot to mention here. Yeah, I don't have it here, but as of this morning, I actually broke the 300 subscribers line, which I'm really quite content with. I'm absolutely amazed in some cases, especially when I have technological challenges. I'm just going to jump on that. Dogface has just said, you get a front seat to our wedding. Oh yeah, I guess that is a seat. I was going to say front seat better be yourself and your fiance. Okay. Now that's just a sidetrack. When you're looking at being successful for you, okay, there are the 4 books, by the way, that I've just started writing that are all going to come together. There's one on where, and this is where society is running into snags: religion, politics, parenting, and education. Now, all 4 of these systems are being utilized extremely ineffectively, but the systems themselves are right. Okay, the systems themselves are set up properly. They don't need to be overturned. They've got to be, the people running them have to start running them more effectively. Okay, but those are the 4 new books I'm working on. I'm combining them all into one. Okay, which is going to contain the keys to total success, regardless of what level of success, what you call success, whether it's running a house, running a business. Okay, doesn't matter what it is. Maybe it's just building a car. Okay, and I'll tell you, just building a car, that's understated. That takes a lot of work. Okay, but every one of these projects, when I put this book together of how to be of the formula for success, okay, it's success in any walk of life, in any industry. It doesn't matter. Okay, but we have to get back to doing things that work. Well, here's a way to improvise. I agree with you there, Dogface. There's not a real big problem, but if you want to sort of work both at the same time, get a weight designed, get a weighted ring for your beer bottle. Okay. And all you do is you get a cup or something that will lock into it that's got a 2-pound weight on the end of it. You set the cup in, you set the beer bottle into a 2-pound weighted cup. Make sure it locks in. Okay, well, of course, you take a 2-pound weighted cup or a 3-pound weighted cup, and you put the beer bottle in the cup, and then much like my coffee cup, if you picture that. Here's something for you to work on. I've never designed it personally, but it's just something that came to mind. Now, here's my coffee, okay? But remember, you got to learn to drink with both hands. One at a time, I recommend. Otherwise, you got a mess. But you take a cup. Now, you can see the size of the lid there. A big beer bottle, will fit in that. If you take this black area and you turn that into a heavy weight, then when you're drinking your beer, you're getting your exercise anyway. Okay. Now, I will caution you on one little detail there. Okay. The one little detail is this. If you're lifting weights while you're drinking, 2 things happen. 1, you're going to dehydrate. Okay, and 2, you'll still get the buzz, right? But you're going to burn off a lot of the energy at the same time. The nice little part about it is that when you're looking at any goal, I keep telling myself I got to start exercising. But I also told myself until I break 200 pounds, I'm not going into weightlifting. Okay, now I won't be going into bodybuilding anyway. Okay, just not that interested. But getting back to where I can comfortably pick up 100 pounds even with a bad leg is an important thing to me. Okay, But right now, I'm still looking at breaking that 200-pound mark. When I checked on Sunday, I was back down to 203. And that's where I'm focusing, is getting below that. I'm looking at breaking the 200 pound. Once I break that, then I'll start the exercise in the way of getting stronger. Okay. In the meantime, as you can see, I'm doing my best to get into more of the golf shirt type thing instead of just the t-shirts. This is not to say I've got anything against t-shirts. This change for me is for me. It's that simple. It's not so that people will take me seriously, because Lord knows I'm going to put my foot in my mouth when somebody asks me a question. You know, it's not a question of will I, it's a question of when. Okay. That's something you can actually change right away, dog face. Start telling yourself you're extremely energetic, and you'll find you start becoming much more energetic. Okay. I worked it out years ago that if you're used to, if you take the average person that talks about requiring 8 hours of sleep, I was curious. And I just looked at it and went, what happens if you don't lose health and you don't lose your quality of life? What would you gain by cutting your sleep to 4 hours a night? Okay. What I found was, and do your own math on this, what I found was you gain approximately a month and a half living time over the course of a year. Okay. Now, for me, I've got back into the point because I got really frustrated for a while. So I've been sleeping a lot during the day lately. Okay. Like essentially trying to get through the day, because I've gotten really frustrated with the fact that society is continually choosing the wrong thing as far as success goes, and they're heading down a very bad path. Okay. But I had to get it through my head. It's time to really focus on what can I do to keep myself out of that rut. Okay. Now, on this note, I've been on here for now 2 hours here. So I've got a bunch of things I've got to get done, but I will be back again. Thank you so much for joining me. And absolutely, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel. And I will be back again as soon as I can. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.